Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the show that, well, slices through the noise and really tries to pull out the most astonishing insights from the topics you care about. Today, we're not just dipping our toes, we're plunging headfirst into the vast, grimdark expanse of Warhammer 40,000. And we're shining a spotlight on one of its most fascinating and maybe most misunderstood factions, the Tau Empire.
Yeah, definitely misunderstood sometimes.
Now, here's where things get really intriguing and honestly, maybe a little unsettling. Are the Tau truly the good guys in this, let's face it, relentlessly bleak universe? A shining beacon of hope? Or is their famed greater good philosophy, this whole vision of unity, actually far more sinister, more coercive than it looks on the surface?
It's a big question.
And how in the galaxy did such a relatively young race manage to not only survive, but become a significant threat with their hyper-advanced tech, yet still remain so incredibly vulnerable?
Right, the contradiction is key.
Get ready to unpack some surprising truths. Maybe challenge some things you thought you knew about this distinctive Xenos fashion. We promise, by the end of this deep dive, your understanding of the Tau, it'll be fundamentally redefined.
It's a truly captivating subject, like you said, precisely because they are such a contradiction. Our mission today is basically to explore the essence of the Tau. We'll look at their core philosophy, where their unique power comes from, and also the precarious situation they're always in. We've pulled together a lot of sources to give you a complete, nuanced picture.
Okay, great. So let's begin at the very beginning. Their fundamental identity. Visually, the Tau are described as these, well, kind of diminutive, scrawny blue humanoids, and notably no noses, which is a detail that always sticks with me for some reason.
Yeah, it's distinctive.
But here's the kicker, the truly astounding fact.
Yeah.
They're consistently presented as one of the youngest races in the entire galaxy, like a mere blink of an eye in cosmic terms.
It's incredible, really.
That rapid climb from being a fledgling species to a, burgeoning galactic power is frankly almost unbelievable when you think about the millennial empires they're up against.
It genuinely is. The sheer speed of their development, it's kind of a testament to their unique society. Their empire is expanding fast, almost frantically. They're carving out territory deep within the imperium of man's own ultima segmentum, specifically near the eastern fringes of the Milky Way.
Right in the Imperium's backyard, relatively speaking.
Exactly. And their society itself is rigidly hierarchical. It's built entirely on a caste system. You've got the fire caste for war, earth caste for building things, air caste for pilots and comms, water caste for diplomacy, and all of them are unified under the leadership of the, well, enigmatic ethereals.
Oh yes, the ethereals.
These figures, like, the famous ethereal aun'va or the brilliant commander Shadowsun, they're the guiding force, almost universally revered, and they're really the bedrock of the Tau's unified purpose.
And that unified purpose brings us straight to the core of Tau philosophy, the engine behind everything they do, something they call the greater good.
Tau'va.
Right. On the surface, it sounds remarkably appealing. They're uniquely depicted as maybe the only major faction in 40K who openly seeks peace, genuine cooperation with other civilizations. They actually present warfare as an absolute last resort.
Supposedly.
Their grand ambition is nothing less than uniting diverse species, including humans, which is wild under this single banner of progress, shared prosperity, and what they seem to genuinely believe is galactic harmony. It sounds almost too noble for this universe, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that's exactly where the complexity and, yeah, some would definitely say the darkness starts to creep in. 1.00 mark.
Okay.
So here's where it gets really interesting. And it's a counterintuitive thing that often surprises people new to the lore. While the Tau certainly preach peace and integration, their whole ethos is always backed by the undeniable and often pretty chilling threat of overwhelming force.
There's a catch.
Exactly. If a world or civilization doesn't freely choose to join the greater good, well, it's usually persuaded. And that persuasion often looks like a swift, devastating, overwhelming display of power by their fire caste and all that high-tech weaponry.
So it's not really a gentle nudge then?
Not exactly. It's basically a demonstration that resistance is, quite literally, futile. The choice becomes integrate or, well, be annihilated.
Right. This duality, this kind of inherent contradiction, it seems to define them. On one hand, you find sources, championing them as maybe the only decent people in the entire galaxy.
You do hear that, yeah.
A candidate for good guys because they're not explicitly racist like the Imperium often is, and they genuinely do integrate other species. They offer some kind of path forward, a vision of progress.
But then you dig a bit deeper, and other sources paint a much grimmer picture. They suggest that by, let's say, broader fictional standards outside the specific Grimdark context of 40K the Tau are still, well, pretty awful.
Awful. How so?
We're talking about practices that, okay, maybe they see them as benevolent in their intent, but they're horrifying in execution. Things like alleged mass sterilizations of populations that won't comply, forceful cultural assimilation, basically stamping out local traditions for Tau ways.
Oof.
And perhaps most disturbing is the potential for outright mind control. It's rumored, anyway. Facilitated through these devices called community helms.
Community helms.
Yeah, controversial tech. Some sources suggest they subtly influence thought, loyalty, maybe even emotions, to ensure absolute compliance to the greater good, basically suppressing independent thought or dissent, and all orchestrated by that unquestioned ruling class, the ethereals.
Wow. Okay, that's a darker shade of blue than I thought.
Yeah.
It truly is a paradox.
Yeah.
They offer this flickering candle of hope in a galaxy just consumed by endless war, but the flame itself seems fueled by methods that make you seriously question its purity. And despite their idealism, their drive, they're often considered, like you said, a relatively small and fragile light in this vast, grim-dark expanse, destined, many sources suggest, to just be snuffed out by bigger threats.
Like a Tyranid hive fleet showing up or a really big orc wall?
Yeah, something huge and unstoppable. Okay, so we've talked about their complex philosophy, their precarious place, but how exactly has this young, seemingly fragile candle managed to not just survive, but actually expand against such overwhelming odds? The answer, of course, has to be their truly astonishing technological prowess.
Absolutely, that's their ace in the hole.
The Tay are extremely technologically advanced. They possess what you can only really describe as superior ranged firepower and incredibly sophisticated technology. We're talking devastating weapons like their powerful railguns, capable of just vaporizing armored vehicles in a single shot.
Yeah, those are nasty.
And most of their basic fighting units come armed with weapons designed to punch through heavy armor from a safe distance. Strength 5 or better for the tabletop players out there.
Precisely. Their whole military doctrine really revolves around this tech superiority. Their forces feature highly advanced battlesuits, like the classic XV8 crisis suits, versatile, heavily armed. And then you have the truly formidable Riptide, a much larger, highly mobile platform with just devastating firepower and good defenses, too.
Those things look terrifying.
They are. And their innovative use of drones is also a key part of their strategy. For extra support, recon, more firepower. On the tabletop, these drones can effectively form an unbreachable castle, like a protective screen, letting their main units just outshoot opponents from relative safety.
A moving castle of guns.
Sort of, yeah. And thanks to the battlesuits and their advanced vehicles, they are described as an incredibly mobile force. They can redeploy fast, pull off flanking maneuvers. 2.00 mark. Okay, picture this. A kind of vivid hypothetical. Imagine a Tau commander, maybe overseeing the integration of a newly found planet. And the populace is hesitant, they're unsure about this whole greater good thing.
Right, happens all the time, I bet.
So instead of an immediate invasion, the commander orchestrates a show of force. With surgical precision, they order a pinpoint railgun strike. Not at a city, not at people, but at some non-essential, but maybe prominent, building miles away from any population center.
Okay.
In just a flash of light, the structure is vaporized, gone, leaves a smoking crater. No civilian casualties, no prolonged siege, just a chilling, undeniable demonstration of peaceful persuasion through overwhelming, precise technological superiority.
Wow. It sends a message.
Exactly. It's a method that often achieves compliance without a full-scale war, but definitely leaves a lingering sense of dread. And this illustrates perfectly why Tau armies on the tabletop are known for that powerful shooting and mobility. They control zones well. And they've actually become much more dynamic in recent editions, moving away from just being a static gunline.
Okay, so they're a technological marvel, a force to be reckoned with from way over there. But now we need to look at the flip side. There's significant weaknesses, maybe even crippling ones.
Oh, absolutely. They have some major vulnerabilities.
A major Achilles heel for the Tau seems to be their glaring lack of psychic abilities. Unlike almost every other major race, they just can't tap into the warp. No telepathy, no precognition, no mind bullets.
None of it, which leaves them uniquely vulnerable to foes who do wield those powers, like Eldar or Chaos or even the Imperium Psychers.
And let's be blunt, their close combat prowess is...
Well, it's famously poor, right?
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Get up close and personal with a Tau Fire warrior, and they're generally in serious trouble. unless they're in a big suit.
Okay. And what about their armies overall?
Well, while their advanced units are undeniably powerful, they're also incredibly complex, resource-intensive to build and maintain. This often translates, on the tabletop at least, to their forces being quite costly in points. So you might end up with smaller army sizes compared to, say, swarms of orcs or Tyranids or the sheer numbers of the Imperial Guard.
Fewer bodies on the field? Right. And because they lean so heavily on ranged combat, their battlefield strategy can sometimes feel a bit predictable. Shoot the enemy off the board before they get close. If that fails.
Right. Well, it gets dicey.
Scary.
So these aren't just abstract weaknesses. They have real consequences in the lore, too.
Oh, absolutely. These aren't just game mechanics. They shape their history. 4.000 mark. And what's really insightful here, something people often overlook, is that even their major lore victories, the ones celebrated as strategic triumphs, they almost invariably come at a significant cost, often unseen costs that actually undermine their long-term unity and stability.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, take Commander Farsight, one of their greatest heroes, a tactical genius. After the Damocles Gulf Crusade, a huge conflict against the Imperium Farsight became disillusioned with the Ethereal's rigid control and went rogue.
Right, the Farsight enclaves.
Exactly. He broke away, formed his own independent faction. That was a profound loss of trust, a major internal division. It shows how even a tactical win can lead to strategic fragmentation.
So, victory, but at the cost of unity.
Precisely. Then there's the third sphere of expansion, a grand push for the greater good. It had initial successes, sure, but it famously ended with the tragic death of their revered leader, ethereal aun'va, and many of their forces got cut off, isolated by some mysterious superweapon. A disaster, really.
Ouch. And the fourth sphere.
The fourth sphere of expansion, yeah, equally problematic. While ambitious, it caused widespread trauma and division within the Tau ranks because it relied on experimental, often catastrophic, warp drives.
Warp drives. I thought Tau didn't really do warp travel well.
They don't. These drives were different, incredibly dangerous, unlike the stable warp travel other races use. They led to horrific encounters with the raw, uncontrolled energies of the Immaterium. Left many Tau scarred, mentally broken, or just lost forever. A huge price to pay for faster expansion.
Sounds terrifying.
And don't forget, even their tech isn't foolproof. The Adeptus Mechanicus, the tech priests of the Imperium, they scored a decisive, if maybe lesser-known, victory against the Tau at a place called Mugilith Bay. Involved widespread use of nasty rad ammo, apparently gravely affected key Tau figures. Shows their tech superiority isn't always absolute.
Right. And what about their allies, the Kroot and Vespid? Do they help shore up these weaknesses?
Well, they do employ auxiliaries like the Kroot mercenaries or the winged Vespid stingwings, but honestly, in lore and often on the tabletop, they're generally seen as adding unique tactical options or maybe just bodies, rather than fundamentally fixing the Tau's core weaknesses like poor melee or lack of psychers. They're cool units, great for collectors, but maybe not always the most efficient competitive choice.
Okay, so a really complex picture emerges. Young, technologically brilliant, expansionist, but also rigid, but potentially coercive and surprisingly fragile in some ways.
Yeah.
Now, let's place the Tau firmly in the broader, incredibly grim context of the other Xenos factions in 40K. They are, of course, one of the major playable alien races, right alongside the big hitters who've been around forever.
The Orcs, Eldar, Necrons, Tyranids.
Yeah, 7.0 so mark. So here's a crucial question, maybe the question, for you listening right now, as you consider their place in this brutal cosmos. Given everything we've learned about the Tau, their idealistic greater good, its hidden costs, their amazing tech, their profound vulnerabilities, would you genuinely believe in their vision for galactic peace? Or would you ultimately see it as just another, maybe more subtle, form of conquest in disguise? It's a tough call in a universe where survival often means compromising everything. What do you think?
It really is the central dilemma with them. And what makes the Tau so compelling is how their unique approach contrasts so sharply with almost every other major alien race out there. Unlike most Xenos factions, who are usually locked in ancient feuds or driven by singular, often destructive impulses, the Tau are unique. They explicitly and persistently try to unite diverse species under their banner.
That focus on diplomacy, even if it's backed by that hidden fist.
Right. It stands in stark opposition to, well, the unreasoning hunger of the Tyranids, the ancient grudges and complex plots of the Eldari, the silent reclaiming of the Necrons, or just the sheer love of war from the Orcs.
Yeah, let's break that down. How do they stack up against those specific threats?
Okay, consider the Tyranids. The Tao's progressive, unifying nature is just worlds apart from the Nid's insatiable, all-consuming goal. Devour all biomass, period. You can't negotiate with a hive fleet. Which makes the Tau, with their smaller empire, particularly vulnerable. Their range firepower is great, but it can be overwhelmed by sheer endless numbers.
A tide of teeth and claws.
Pretty much. Then you have the Orcs. Their brutal, anarchic, war-obsessed nature makes any Tau attempt at diplomacy completely nonsensical. It just doesn't compute for an Orc. Conflicts like the War of Infamy or Varium Alpha. For the Orcs, that's just a good scrap, a chance to wah. For the Tau, it's a potentially existential threat they can't reason with.
Right. What about the older races?
Well, the Tau's relative youth and their focus purely on technology contrasts sharply with the ancient psychic Eldari, who are dealing with their own millennia-old problems and fading glory. Or the Necrons, even older, basically immortal robot skeletons waking up to reclaim the galaxy with technology that might even surpass the Taus in some ways. Just ancient and terrifying.
And the Leagues of Votan. They're relatively new, too, and techie.
True, both are technologically advanced, but the Votan are very different. They're pragmatic, focused inward on mining, resource acquisition, trade within their own kin bands, not really interested in this universal greater good expansionism like the Tau. Different philosophy entirely.
So it paints a really clear picture. Despite their unique approach, their idealism, their undeniable tech edge, they are still, in the grand scheme of the 40K galaxy, a relatively small empire. Highly vulnerable to these much larger, much older, and often far more numerous galactic threats that could just roll right over them.
It's a constant danger they live under.
10.00 mark. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. The Tau Empire really stands as this truly fascinating, deeply layered contradiction in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. They present themselves as a beacon of progress, of unity, maybe the only real path to peace in a galaxy that knows only war. Yet, as we've explored pretty thoroughly, they achieve their lofty goals through methods that are questionable. Subtle coercion, forceful assimilation of cultures, and that ever-present, overwhelming threat of their advanced military might. Ultimately, the Tau challenge the very definition of good and evil within the Grimdark setting. Their idealism, it's backed by chillingly pragmatic actions. Their technological strength is offset by a profound lack of psychic might. All this makes them constantly intriguing, but also perpetually vulnerable. Their greater good might be a flickering candle in this boundless darkness, but man, it casts a long, complicated, and often pretty unsettling shadow.
Absolutely. And that really leads to a profound final question for everyone to ponder. If the Tau truly represent the closest thing to a good path towards peace and unity in the 41st millennium, what does it say about the rest of the galaxy that their version of goodness is still considered so, well, awful by many external standards, featuring practices like potential mind control and forced sterilization that would horrify us? And realistically, how long can such a unique yet internally fraught and externally threatened candle truly burn in the overwhelming, soul-crushing darkness that is Warhammer 40,000? It's a question that I think continues to drive so much discussion in the lore and even how people play them on the tabletop. It keeps them fascinating.
A truly compelling thought to leave you all with, indeed. We hope this deep dive into the Tau Empire has given you some fresh perspectives, maybe challenged some ideas you had, and certainly given you plenty to think about. We absolutely love hearing your thoughts on these complex topics, so please share them with us wherever you listen to the show. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the heart of these universes. Leave us a review, too. It really helps others discover these insights. Until next time, keep digging deeper.